LAM 470 Gaborone, please continue with Luanda control, frequency 8888. LAM 470, do you copy?
But there's no reply. Five minutes later, the Gaborone controller contacts Luanda Control in Angola to find out if they've heard from the crew.
I'm looking for LAM 470. Are you in contact?
It was intended to be handed off to Angola to Luanda. Handoff never happened. Luanda called back and said the airplane's not here.
5 minutes before its expected arrival time, LAM 470 has still not contacted Luanda Control.
You haven't heard anything?
Neither controller knows where LAM 470 is. It has disappeared. There are no distress calls or any signals from the plane's emergency locator transmitter. Investigative agencies from the 3 countries where the plane could be are notified: Botswana, Angola, and Namibia.
Last contact was at 9:19 a.m. Let's start there.
Investigators from each country check their recorded radar signals to see if they can trace the missing Embraer 190. It's the Namibians who find its track.
There it is.
Members of Namibia's Directorate of Aircraft Accident Investigation, or DAAI, review its recorded signal.
The Namibians had the radar information, showed him at cruise, and then all the way till he disappeared off of the signal, off of the radar.
Okay, here we go. Starting to descend.
The data shows that Flight 470 was cruising normally at 38,000 feet. Then, it began to plunge towards the ground at a breathtaking speed.
It's dropping really fast.
They watched the signal for 6 minutes. It shows the plane falling more than 30,000 feet.
Dropping in over twice the normal descent rate. That's it. It's gone.
It was clear that the aircraft was at cruise and disappeared from radar some thousands of feet above ground, consistent with the aircraft either attempting to land or the aircraft having some other issue where it crashed.
The radar track disappears once the plane drops below 6,600 feet. But it does show that just a few kilometers from the border between Botswana and Namibia, LAM 470 was rapidly heading towards the ground.
Yeah, we're checking for airstrips in the area now. I don't see any airports near their last known location.
Investigators hope the pilots were able to land at an airfield.
This aircraft had an emergency where they were unable to communicate with the outside world, or they were too busy keeping the airplane in the sky to communicate, and they were maybe trying to land, either at an airstrip in the area or, worst case, an emergency landing away from an airport.
The 6 minutes that passed from the time LAM 470 began its descent to the time it disappeared from radar should have been enough time for pilots to call in an emergency. The question is, why didn't they? 2 weeks after the crash, the flight data and cockpit voice recorders are finally ready for analysis in Washington, D.C.
We're eager to see what the recorders had to tell us, because the recorders will help us with what the strategy will be for the rest of the investigation.
Okay, we're ready for playback.
Gaborone area control, LAM 470.
LAM 470 Gaborone, report your estimated time to Agram.
In about an hour. Gaborone, LAM 470. Copy that. We should be at Agram at 10:20. We'll report back then.
Investigators listen to the recording carefully and hear something that piques their interest.
It was just a routine flight until the first officer excused himself to go to the laboratory.
I'm going to step out to the toilet. Do you have the controls? No problem.
The first officer leaves the cockpit.
Captain confirmed that's fine, and the first officer left.
From that point on, it was quiet.
"30 seconds go by. A minute. "6 minutes of near silence on the CVR.
Just sound like normal things going on.
The first officer is coming back.
All of a sudden you hear knocking on the door. There was no response. And then the knocking started becoming more repetitive.
The cockpit door remains locked.
The co-pilot of the flight wants to get back in, and the captain is not responding.